Each morning arrives as a quiet beginning, untouched by the chaos of the day. Before the phone lights up, before the world starts to demand your attention, there is a small opening, a space where you are free. In this space you are not your job, not your role, not your responsibilities. You are simply a human being, waking up to life once more. That moment is sacred. Most people rush past it thinking of what they have to do, where they need to go, and how fast they can get there. But in doing so, they miss something powerful, the chance to consciously begin again. You are not the same person you were yesterday. Your cells have changed. Your thoughts have shifted. Your experiences have added new layers to your perception. This means every morning holds within it the opportunity to grow beyond who you were. Not in giant leaps, but in quiet steps. The kind of steps that cannot be seen by others, but felt by you. Improving yourself by 1% every morning starts not with action, but with awareness. You wake up and you pause. You take a breath. You feel your body, your mind, your heart. You don't judge what you feel. You observe it. And in that observation, you begin to choose. Will you react like yesterday, or will you respond with a little more clarity? Will you give in to distraction, or will you take control of your first few minutes and direct your attention inward? That choice, small as it may seem, is where your power begins. Most people look for big breakthroughs, but transformation does not arrive in dramatic moments. It is built in quiet, invisible decisions. Waking up 5 minutes earlier to sit in stillness, choosing to stretch your body before picking up your phone. Drinking a glass of water while whispering to yourself, I am growing. These are not things that change the world in an instant, but they change your direction. And a 1-degree shift in direction maintained over time leads to a completely different destination. This is why the morning matters, because it is not yet shaped, because it listens, because it allows you to plant a seed before the storm begins. Every morning is a chance to become just a little bit more conscious, a little bit more intentional, a little bit more disciplined. And if you repeat that each day, the results begin to multiply. You do not need to make giant promises to yourself. You only need to honor this one. Today I will begin with presence. I will begin with effort. I will begin with a decision to improve myself, even by a small amount. That is enough. Because improvement is not measured by how much noise you make. It is measured by how deeply you are aligned with your purpose. It is measured in the way you sit, the way you breathe, the way you speak to yourself before anyone else gets the chance. That quiet alignment builds something stronger than motivation. It builds character, and character is what carries you forward when motivation fades. So tomorrow morning, when you open your eyes, do not rush. Do not reach for your phone. Do not think about what is missing. Simply sit with yourself. Listen, breathe. Set a clear intention, however small. Tell yourself, today, I rise a little higher than I did yesterday. And then follow through with just one step, one act of discipline, one act of focus, one act of self-respect. It is not about being perfect. It is about remembering that you are the author of your life, and the first page is written every single morning. Improvement is often misunderstood. Many think it requires massive action, dramatic changes, or constant pressure to push harder. But the truth is far more subtle. Real improvement is not about intensity. It is about consistency. It is not the loud roar of sudden transformation, but the quiet rhythm of steady growth. It's not what you do once in a while, when you feel inspired. It's what you commit to doing every day, especially when you don't feel like it. There is power in doing something small with full attention over and over again. A drop of water falling on a stone makes no sound the first time, but over days, weeks, months, it shapes the stone. That is the nature of consistent effort. It appears slow, it feels unremarkable, but over time it changes everything. To improve by 1% every morning, you don't need to exhaust yourself or chase perfection. You need to repeat the right actions with the right mindset again and again. Whether it's reading a single page from a meaningful book, practicing 5 minutes of breathing, making your bed with discipline, or speaking kindly to yourself before starting the day, each act becomes part of your foundation. Consistency builds trust with yourself. Each time you follow through, no matter how small the action, you send a message to your mind, I can count on myself. That trust becomes inner strength, that strength becomes clarity, and that clarity allows you to keep going, even on the days when motivation is nowhere to be found. Motivation is like a gust of wind, strong for a moment, but always fading. Consistency is like the earth beneath your feet. It is quiet, but it holds you. It keeps you steady. People often start with big goals, only to quit when the excitement disappears. But those who understand the value of small, repeated effort, they don't stop. Because they are not chasing excitement. They are building something unshakable within. Even the strongest tree started as a fragile seed. What made it grow was not sudden sunlight or a burst of rain, but the quiet process of being fed every single day. Your growth is no different. The results you want, the strength you seek, the clarity you long for, they are not waiting in a future achievement. They are hidden in your daily choices. So if you truly want to improve, forget about being impressive. Focus on being consistent. Let your progress be invisible to the world if it must. What matters is that you see it, that you feel it, that you live it. One small action, done every morning, is enough to begin the shift. That action becomes a habit. That habit becomes a mindset. And that mindset becomes your way of life. There is nothing more powerful than a person who shows up for themselves every day, no matter how they feel. You will not always feel strong. You will not always feel clear. But if you can keep your promises to yourself even on those days, your progress will never stop. That is the gift of consistency. It carries you forward when everything else seems to stand still. So let others chase shortcuts. Let them chase highs. You take the path of mastery. Wake up, take one clear step, and repeat again and again. Quiet, strong, steady. That is how you grow. That is how you win. Small actions are often overlooked because they don't create instant result. They don't impress others. They don't make you feel powerful right away. But this is where most people miss the truth. The greatest changes are born from the smallest decisions, done consistently with full intention. You do not need to climb a mountain in a single day. You only need to take one solid step forward and then take another the next day. This is the path of quiet, steady transformation. You don't need to change your entire life overnight. You need to create small habits that shift your mindset, adjust your energy, and strengthen your discipline. These little actions may seem insignificant in the moment, but when they are repeated over time, they create momentum. And momentum, once built, becomes almost unstoppable. Start by looking at the first hour of your day. This is where your mind is still soft, still open. What you do in this time plants the seed for how your entire day will unfold. Do you reach for your phone and scroll? Or do you sit for 1 minute with your breath? Do you complain about your responsibilities? Or do you whisper a simple thought of gratitude before you rise? These are small choices, but they shape your focus, your energy, and your state of being. A person who begins their day with chaos will carry that chaos into everything they do. But a person who begins with clarity, even just a few minutes of it, builds a different kind of presence. That presence will echo throughout the day, and the day becomes more stable, more focused, more aligned. That is the power of small habits. Brushing your teeth with awareness, drinking water slowly, feeling it nourish you, writing down one thought, one goal, or one reminder of who you are becoming. Taking 5 minutes to move your body with strength and intention. These habits do not take hours. They do not require equipment. They do not cost anything. But what they build inside you cannot be measured by time or money. They build self-respect. They build discipline. They build momentum. Most people fail not because they lack motivation, but because they wait for the perfect time to begin. They wait for the gym membership, the new year, the weekend, or some future version of themselves who finally feels ready. But that moment never comes. What comes instead is delay, regret, and more excuses. That is why small habits matter so much. They eliminate the excuse. They give you something you can do right now. And doing something, no matter how small, is always better than waiting for the perfect time to do something bigger. These small actions don't need to be seen by others. They don't need applause. What matters is that you do them, quietly, with purpose. Because every time you act in alignment with your higher self, you take a step closer to becoming that version of yourself. Even if it's just 1%, that is enough. This process will feel slow. Sometimes it may feel like nothing is changing. But that is the nature of growth. A tree does not rise from the ground overnight. Its roots spread deep in silence before anyone sees a single leaf. Your habits are the same. They are the roots. They are what stabilize your future self. So, begin with one habit. Keep it simple. Make it daily. Let it become a part of who you are. Then add another. Over time, these small pieces form a strong foundation. And when life challenges you, and it will, your foundation will hold you steady. The difference between the person who transforms and the one who stays the same is not in what they wish to do. It's in what they do every day, without fail. Small habits, repeated actions, quiet progress. That is the path. That is the way. Progress begins with presence, not with noise, not with motion, and not with pressure to be more. It begins the moment you decide to be fully where you are, to bring your complete awareness into what you're doing. No matter how simple or small the action may be, this is where true growth lies. Not in doing more things, but in doing things better. Not in chasing endless goals, but in being fully connected to each step you take toward them. In today's world, we are taught to hustle, to multitask, to run faster and do more. But a mind that is scattered cannot grow. A person who moves without presence may cover more distance, but they will never move deeper. Without presence, you might achieve 100 things, but none of them will transform you. Because it is not what you do that changes you. It is how you do it. A glass of water can be just a routine, or it can be a ritual. Walking can be just movement, or it can be meditation. Stretching can be just physical, or it can be a practice in awareness. It is your presence that gives meaning to your actions. And it is this presence that turns daily effort into progress. Doing better does not mean pushing harder. It means choosing quality over quantity. When you focus your energy, even a single action becomes powerful. Writing one sentence with clarity, doing one exercise with perfect form, breathing one breath with full attention. These are not small things. They are deep things. And depth is where growth begins. When you rush through your morning, your actions lose their value. But when you slow down and connect with what you're doing, you create strength, not just in the body, but in the mind. You train yourself to be intentional. And this intention builds character. There is a big difference between activity and progress. You can be busy all day and still feel empty. But when you act with presence, even 1 hour can carry you forward. This is why doing better is more powerful than doing more. More is external. Better is internal. It's a shift from speed to depth, from distraction to focus. Presence brings your attention back to the moment. And the moment is all you ever really have. When you live in this moment and give your best to it, the future begins to align by itself. But if you ignore the moment, chasing something far ahead, you lose the only opportunity you have to truly improve. Each morning gives you a chance to return to this understanding, to sit still, to center your mind, and to ask yourself, am I present? Am I focused? Am I giving my full attention to this moment? If the answer is yes, then even a single action can change you. This is what progress really means. Not that you did 100 things today, but that you did a few with care, with clarity, and with discipline. Presence is also a form of respect. When you are present with your breath, you respect your life. When you are present in your movement, you respect your body. When you are present with your thoughts, you begin to master your mind. This kind of respect builds trust. It builds power. It builds peace. You don't need to prove anything to the world. You just need to become more conscious of the steps you take. And when those steps are taken with full awareness, they take you exactly where you're meant to go. Slowly, strongly, and unshakably. So tomorrow, before you do anything else, remember your power is not in how much you do. Your power is in how deeply you show up for each moment. Let presence guide your progress. Let it shape your habits. Let it sharpen your focus. And in time, you'll realize that doing better, one step at a time, is more than enough. It's everything. Discipline is not built on the days when everything feels easy. It's not proven when you are full of energy, when your motivation is high, or when your path is clear. True discipline shows itself in the quiet moments when no one is watching, when you feel tired, distracted, unmotivated, or doubtful. These are the moments that matter most, not because they are pleasant, but because they reveal who you really are beneath your emotions. Growth does not ask for your comfort. It asks for your consistency. Anyone can take action when they feel inspired. But the person who rises and follows through even when their mind resists, that is someone who is becoming strong. That is someone who is transforming. Discipline is not about emotion. It is about commitment. It is about making a promise to yourself and keeping it, even when your feelings try to convince you to do otherwise. There will always be days when the body feels heavy, when the mind feels clouded, and when every excuse seems louder than your goal. These days are not setbacks. They are tests. They ask you one question. Do you truly want this? If the answer is yes, then you will act anyway. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. This is where most people stop. They wait for motivation to return. They wait to feel good again. But waiting is the path of delay. Waiting is the language of the undisciplined mind. Discipline does not wait. It moves forward. Even if the step is small. Even if the step feels uncertain. What matters is that the step is taken. Each time you act without waiting to feel ready, you strengthen your character. You teach your mind that action is greater than emotion. You remind yourself that you are not a servant to your moods. You are the master of your behavior. That quiet decision, repeated daily, becomes an unshakable force. Discipline doesn't mean forcing yourself to do more. It means doing what you said you would do, regardless of how you feel in the moment. If you promised yourself you would move your body, then move. If you told yourself you would meditate, then sit. If you decided to write, to learn, to read, then begin. The discipline is in the doing, not in how perfectly it's done, but in the fact that it was done at all. Some days your effort will feel strong. Other days it will feel weak. That is normal. That is life. What matters is not the level of intensity, but the act of showing up. Because every time you show up for yourself, especially on the hard days, you are laying the bricks of a foundation that will never crack. Over time, these small acts of discipline become your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who does not give up, someone who follows through. Someone who does what needs to be done, even when it's uncomfortable. That identity becomes your strength. It becomes the anchor that keeps you steady in the storms of life. So the next time you wake up feeling tired or discouraged, do not ask whether you feel like taking action. Ask only this: what would the disciplined version of me do right now? And then do that, even if it's only for 5 minutes, even if it's imperfect, because that small choice is everything. Discipline is not loud, it's not dramatic, it's quiet, it's calm, it's built in moments when the mind wants to quit, but the spirit continues. Let others rely on motivation. You rely on something deeper, your decision to honor the path no matter how you feel. That is how discipline is proven. Not once, not twice, but every single day you act when it would be easier not to. And that is how you grow. 1% may sound small, almost too small to matter. But when it is repeated every day with intention, it becomes something powerful. Something that reshapes not just your habits, but your entire identity. Growth doesn't require huge leaps. It requires small steps taken consistently. And when those steps are repeated day after day, they begin to compound. This is the power of 1% daily improvement. What seems invisible in the beginning starts to become undeniable with time. You begin to speak differently. You think more clearly. You carry yourself with more discipline. And you didn't arrive there through pressure or perfection. You arrived there by choosing each morning to be just a little better than you were the day before. The change may feel slow. It may feel like nothing is happening at all. That's normal. Progress at this level is quiet. You won't see it in the mirror right away. Others might not notice it either. But you'll feel it. You'll feel it in the way you respond instead of react. In the way you stay calm when frustration rises. In the way you move with purpose when others drift aimlessly through their day. Most people give up on their growth because they expect too much too fast. They want results in days, not in months or years. But the truth is, transformation isn't meant to be fast. It's meant to be lasting. And anything that lasts must be built slowly, layer by layer, one small effort at a time. The 1% rule works because it removes the pressure of needing to be perfect. You don't have to be your best every single day. You just have to be a little better. If you were distracted yesterday, be more focused today. If you gave up too early yesterday, push a little further today. These are not giant victories, but they are real ones. And when you string them together over weeks, months, and years, they become the reason you rise far above where you started. This kind of growth becomes natural. You no longer have to force yourself to improve. It becomes who you are. The 1% effort, once repeated long enough, changes your standards. You begin to expect more from yourself. Not from a place of pressure, but from a place of self-respect. You no longer want to stay the same because you've experienced how good it feels to keep growing. Even on difficult days, you can still improve by 1%. You can still make one better choice. You can still sit in silence for 5 minutes. You can still reflect or stretch or breathe or take one clear action that brings you closer to the person you want to be. The beauty of this practice is that it's always within reach. No matter how tired you are, no matter how much noise is around you, 1% is always possible. And once you understand this, you stop being a prisoner of the future. You stop saying, "One day I'll be better," and instead begin to live that change now in small, practical ways. This keeps your attention in the present moment. It removes the need for grand plans or distant visions, because your growth is happening right here today, in this moment, as you choose to show up again. Eventually, this path becomes more than a practice. It becomes your nature. You become the person who moves with discipline, who thinks with clarity, who acts with intention. And that person didn't arrive overnight. That person was built 1% at a time. So don't chase dramatic change. Chase quiet improvement. Do what you can today to be slightly more aware, slightly more focused, slightly more disciplined. Trust that the small steps you take today will become the giant leaps that carry you forward later. This is not just a method. It's a mindset. And once it becomes part of how you live, you'll never feel stuck again. Because you'll always know, there is a way forward. There is always one small thing you can do to grow, and that is enough.